Okay, I'm just swizzing together a quick video as a reference for anyone else who has this problem in the future. So for my, as problematic as it can be, for my recording and streaming, I do use Streamlabs OBS. Here's my problem. I had Soundtrack by Twitch installed, which was a problematic piece of software, thanks Amazon engineers. And yeah, didn't work. It borked my profile. It was not amazing. So here I have my just main profile for streaming. This is what shows, you know, you get roughly everything. Got my widgets that all show, chat, everything. It's not super impressive. I don't have a massive Twitch following. I just do it for fun. So you can see I'm recording. I'm going to show you my advanced audio settings because here's where the problem lies. In fact, let's actually get to settings first and go to output. Now, I have my streaming settings here and, you know, recording as well, but we'll get to that in a sec. So I have 2 tracks for streaming and I liked this feature. I liked the idea of this because there was a few of my tracks where I was playing kind of vague black metal bands that got copyrighted, and I thought, well, I don't want to be hit on that train, so maybe if we do music, let's keep it out of the VODs and just have stream content on the VODs, which makes sense. And it's a good feature. I appreciate it was added. It was added in OBS and now it's here in Slubs. The original functionality was, you know, I think through Soundtrack, which kind of sucked. So that's now been deleted off the computer. It was nuked. It was nuked from the plugins folder in your app data and all sorts of places. So I enabled this. Now, you know, your mileage may vary here. This might say Twitch VOD, please remove Soundtrack by Twitch to enable. You can still toggle it and use it. But, you know, I will say, if you just have Twitch VOD here, fine. If it says remove Soundtrack by Twitch to enable, you have a problem profile, let's call it. So my audio tracks are 1 and 2. 2 is the mix down for VODs. 1 is stream. Stream gets everything. VOD gets everything except music, as you can see here. Everything except music, and also, you know, subs and followers. I figure that's just kind of annoying and nobody does that anyway. So, you know, it's fine. It all works. It works as intended. All of these are my recording tracks. You can disregard these generally for now. So these are just where they'll go in the recording. Now, as I said before, if you have remove or something along the lines of at least remove Soundtrack by Twitch here, then you have essentially a problem profile, as I said. I had this problem not too long ago, and I've been on the Streamlabs community Discord with one of the supporters, Jitals is how I'm going to pronounce it because I don't know how to pronounce it, but he was very nice, very helpful. We sort of just, you know, shot ideas off of each other. And he's not an engineer, but he was speaking to one of the developers, and it sort of led me down a track. So first things first, what you want to do is, let me get rid of this. So, well, first to note is actually, you know, you have your SceneCollections here, and, well, not that, sorry, those are transition, but you have your SceneCollections. Ignore these. I swear I only used this one. These are from a long time ago. And then I made this one, Scenes 1, to just test. And this is sort of where it became a stemming point that proved it was, in fact, in this profile that was the problem. So when I uninstalled and completely nuked Soundtrack by Twitch, I had to do a couple steps. So let me, if you hold down the Windows key and press R, you'll be brought with this little pop-up. Let me just get rid of this window for you. This is the run window. If you're familiar with it, you know what it does. If you're not, all it does is you can execute programs from here and open folders. I have run the app data shortcut, or app data shortcut. I hear app data too often. And we want to go to, first, let's go to Slubs plugins. Now you'll see here, you should at least if it's installed, it's going to bring you to your user folder, app data, roaming, Slubs plugins. You want to go to OBS plugins, 64-bit, and you want to ensure there's nothing with the reference to Soundtrack here. If there's anything else, I don't have it, you know, I'd recommend leaving it. So if you've already done that, fine. Next step is we essentially want to go to the same place. We want to go to client. It's in the same directory. You can get here just by skipping roaming, but, you know, for safety's sake, just be careful in your roaming and updates folders. Please don't blame me if you delete something stupid. That's not my fault. So here is the Slubs client. This is Streamlabs OBS client data. This is where everything's stored. It's where your cache is, and it's where, most importantly, your SceneCollections are. Now, let me say, first of all, do not go messing about with files in here. If you know what you're doing, fine. If you don't, do not go messing about and deleting things. There is no reason to nuke your SceneCollections folder. You do not have to do this. I did not have to completely rebuild my SceneCollections. Instead, what I did, and I already have this open in code, so let me show you. I have 3 files here. Okay, this was my original file before I managed to fix it. Let me just scroll up real quick. And so this is the config for my scene profile. You can see there's a reference to a chat from my GoXLR interface, and it's desktop audio. And here's its volume and what channel it's set to. You know, so it has very specific things set, so you do need to be careful. Here is, and you can see it's very long because there's a lot in that profile. Here is the dummy fake blank profile I made. It's very short. There's not a lot here, and it's rather empty. But you can see in here, searching, there are no references to soundtrack. It does not exist within this file, which was clue number 1 for me. Clue number 2, if I go in here and search for soundtrack, you can see we have 4 references. 3 are in this item node, which comes from, I'm not scrolling all the way up, but it basically comes from I think a definition for the items in the scene, or the definition of source items or something like that. You can see it has a reference, it has a name, and it has a type. Soundtrack source is key. Okay, so when you go into source, I can't actually, I can't add sources. When you go into here, if you still have, you know, soundtrack source or soundtrack by Twitch or whatever in here, it means it's still installed, and you need to make a bit of an effort to install it as uninstall it rather as I had before. But you can see that this exists here. It is in fact in the profile. It's being referenced. So if I just skip that and go to this next one, you can see that in scene items we have a scene item node or scene item nodes rather that is in fact referencing that soundtrack item. So this was essentially what was wrong with my profile. It still referenced soundtrack at this level. Now in this new profile, which is, you know, a pretty much one-to-one version, you can see, you know, it should be the same. The line count's nearly the same. Everything is very similar. The only difference is in this file, I've removed any object nodes that are referencing soundtrack. Now what that does, it seems that Slobs' detection for soundtrack works on whether or not it's installed, because as you can see, you know, there's no reference here to removing soundtrack. If it still thinks you have soundtrack or references to soundtrack in your scene collection, then it will show you that message, you know, please remove to use, which to me was a clue, but I thought I've absolutely nuked this. There's no references, there's nothing in the scene that's visible. But the thing is, you know, the item doesn't exist, so that there isn't, I don't have a source that could be from soundtrack, so it technically didn't exist. There was no way for it to be rendered here, which is fine. That makes sense. That's a pretty standard engineering fallback. If we can't find the reference, you know, keep the data, because we don't want to nuke data, but don't render it. What harm can it do? Well, it turns out the harm is it can completely break that. My recommendation is please be very careful here. Don't go about changing things. If you don't know JSON or you don't feel comfortable, you know, maybe ask someone who does know, or maybe a technical friend to do it. But all you want to do, you want to go in, let's expand this a little bit so we can see. So you can see JSON works very simply. We have this source track here. You can see in code, I'd highly recommend Visual Studio Code. It is free, regularly maintained, regularly updated, and very secure. So you can see it's highlighting these 2 curly brackets here. What we want to do, including the comma, just select those and just delete. And, you know, that's one node gone. That is quite literally gone. That no longer exists. Now, we knew there was one more. So again, we want to come to this node. We want to find the other reference. We know it's here. It's highlighting the brackets again. We know they exist. So with the comma, we just want to delete it. Delete the item. And that's it. It's gone. Now, ensure that, so make sure that you have closed Streamlabs before you do this, because I'm not sure how config reloads work. I don't think they do. But yeah, you will need to, if you haven't, you'll need to reload Streamlabs, and then it should, or at least from what I've found with extensive research from Jators, myself, you should now no longer, oh my god, please drag down. Thank you. You should no longer see this message, which means your VOD audio should now work and you should no longer face the issue that was there. This is a weird bug, I won't lie. The report's been passed on, apparently, and an engineer is going to look at it. I'm really hoping there is a designated fix, but this is a U-side hotfix. This is client-side, so you can fix this yourself. You do not have to nuke your profile. So I really, really, really would recommend, if you're having issues with VODs, and because my issue was there was no audio in VODs, but the now is I can hear myself in VODs. I can hear everything I want to except the music, which was the goal. So that all now works. I can only thank Jators for, you know, his help. If there's been, you know, any help given from this, even to one person, I'm more than happy with that, because this has been frustrating me for about a month, which isn't as long as some people, but it is pretty awful. So, you know, again, this should be on YouTube, and I might bang it on my Twitch as well, but if somebody comments to ask a question, I will ask, or, you know, feel free to join my Discord and ping, and I'll be happy to help people with this issue, because this has been an ongoing nightmare for me. But yeah, have fun. If you fix this, I really hope somebody does get a fix from listening, you know, enjoy streaming again, get back to it. There's no need to worry anymore, you've done it. Get back to the grindstone.